Hello, this is Tristan. Thank you for joining me. Today, I'm cooking with you in the south of France, making Mediterranean rabbit stew. For a little while, I was lucky enough to know a guy who had a house down here, and I had a place to stay if I did the cooking. It was a great deal, as I love cooking on vacation, especially in a country with grocery stores like France. I've actually filmed a few projects down here over the years, and the local store has never let me down. It is a real treasure trove with a huge selection of quality foods that are sometimes hard to come by back in Denmark. One such example of this is rabbit. I can only think of one specialty place to get rabbit in the capital of Copenhagen, but in the south of France, you can find it in the butcher section of most grocery stores. If you've never had rabbit before, fear not. The taste is really quite similar to chicken, yet higher in protein and lower in fat. I learned how to work with rabbits at Restaurant King in New York City that often looked to southern France and Italy for inspiration. So, when I found myself in the source of that inspiration, it seemed like a perfect time to cook this dish. Let's get into it. It is a rabbit stew, so we are of course starting with a rabbit. They will often include the heart and liver, which I'm removing for this dish, but they are very much edible. And I'm blurring it out slightly, but you can see that they sell these with the head still attached, and one of the first things I will do is remove that. Now, moving on, I already mentioned that the taste is very similar to chicken, but in fact the anatomy and butchery is also quite similar. I start with the legs, which look similar to chicken, and as with chicken, I take the knife and follow as close to the spine as possible. You may hit some small bones, but if you simply wiggle the knife a bit, you will quickly find your way through. Then just repeat on the other side. Moving down the carcass, we come to the saddle, which are the two big muscles of the back, and attached to these are the rather thin pieces of meat called the belly flap. Some remove them, but I'm keeping them, so I just cut those free from the saddle. As you can see, after removing the legs, we are left with a bit of a spine with no meat attached to it, so I just removed that, though it might need a good whack. Next, I want to remove the saddle, so I make a small cut near the rib cage, which allows me to bend the meat back, and then I can see just where I need to slice, so the knife goes through easily. With the saddle off, we just have the front legs left, which are attached to the body only by soft tissue, so removing them is as simple as cutting close to the body and pulling the leg away. And then you are left with the rib cage, which doesn't have much meat, but will be in our stew for the sake of flavor. Our rabbit is now completely broken down, which was pretty easy, but if you're really not into it, a butcher would be happy to do it for you. Now I will just start by seasoning that meat generously all over with salt and fresh black pepper. We can let that sit and soak in that seasoning while we get a large pan nice and hot on the stove, say medium-high. We want to brown all of this meat before we braise, as it adds depth of flavor. So when the pan is hot, I add a splash of olive oil, and then I nestle in most of those rabbit pieces. There is not enough space for all the rabbit, so don't try to force it into a crowded pan, because that means it'll have a hard time browning. Some of the meat might buckle a little bit and need a press, but just give them a turn every so often, and in about 10 minutes your rabbit should be nice and golden brown all over. We take the meat out of the pan, and now it's time to build the foundation of our stew. And for that I have an onion, which I dice very roughly. That goes into the pan. That has all those nice brown bits left over from the rabbit. I add a splash of olive oil and let those onions cook for a few minutes. Once they have softened and are taking a little color on the edges, we can move on. I have 2 tablespoons of tomato paste in the pan, and with that I have 3 cloves of garlic. And just take a moment to appreciate how massive these cloves are in Provence. yet not acrid at all. I just give those a rough chop and they go in the pan. We just want to bloom those ingredients in the heat for about 30 seconds. Bloom, not burn. Add another splash of olive oil if things are looking dry. Once the garlic is smelling great, we can add the liquid components of our base, and that is a generous cup of dry white wine, and then about the same amount of a homemade chicken stock. Now, this dish is coming from the Mediterranean, so we have some classic ingredients from that part of the world. This is about a cup of quality olives. I'm doing a mix of the typical olives from Nice, as well as some black oil-cured olives. Make sure to warn your guest if you leave the pits in them, as I do. Then I also have a couple spoons of capers, drained, though as you can see I don't mind if a few drops of brine end up in the dish. And we're nearly there. If you have a nice big Dutch oven style pot, you could absolutely finish this on the stove. But this was actually part of a larger meal I was making, and I would be needing this frying pan for more cooking. So I transferred the sauce to a casserole to finish in the oven, and then I nestled all the rabbit pieces in. In the bottom right corner of the dish on screen is the rib cage, which I split in half so it could fit nicely, doing what I can with the real estate I have. You want the sauce to come up about halfway up the side of the meat, so if yours is looking a little low, add a splash of stock or wine. And for one last element, I'm adding some herbs from the garden, sage and rosemary, both of which grow like happy weeds down here. The dish then gets covered with a lid or foil and goes into the oven, which is set to 325 degrees Fahrenheit or 160 Celsius, and we let that go for an hour and 15 minutes, though I did check in at the 45-minute mark to make sure that we still had enough liquid and to make sure the meat was still tight on the bone. But then it goes back in the oven, and after that final 30 minutes of cooking, it was perfect. As you can see, the meat can be pulled from the bone, but it isn't falling off it, which makes it ideal for serving as whole pieces, which is how I did it. In this case, served simply with roasted potatoes and watercress. With a rustic dish like this, I think it's best keeping the sides as simple as possible. And so there you have it. But wait, there's more. If you happen to have leftovers, it makes for an excellent pasta dish the next day. Simply pluck the meat off the bones, and then mix it all together with your favorite freshly cooked pasta. Don't judge me for using two different types of pasta. It was the last day of vacation and we were clearing out the pantry. With a nice grating of Parmesan, I can't think of a better way to enjoy leftovers. So there you have it, Mediterranean braised rabbit. Great to enjoy on its own or as a pasta dish. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this look at a simple dish that utilizes a protein that is increasingly less common in our modern world. Between the nutrition and the low carbon impact, I think it's worth knowing how to cook it. Not to mention, it's delicious. If you enjoyed this video, please do hit the thumbs up icon and subscribe because I have a lot of other videos like this, a few specifically focusing on the south of France. And be sure to comment, whether it's asking for clarification, suggesting other dishes I could cook, or just saying hello. It's nice to engage with the people who take the time to watch. Now, enjoy some scenic B-roll, and until next time, cheers.